TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News, broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is poised on handing over a post-war Gaza plan to the Trump administration that includes Palestinian Statehood. Hamas continues to procrastinate on the final outline for a hostage release deal in exchange for far-reaching Israeli concessions. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar warns that any push for a Palestinian statehood would turn into a state of Hamas. The Islamist Hamas terrorist organization continues to drag its feet vis-a-vis the final draft for a hostage release deal in exchange for far-reaching Israeli concessions. Qatar, which hosts the mediation efforts as one of the chief patrons of the Islamist Hamas, acknowledged that the final outline was relayed to both Jerusalem and Gaza. Nevertheless, the Qatari Foreign Ministry stopped short from highlighting Hamas's procrastination.
What can be confirmed is that drafts have been sent to both parties. Yes, difficulties facing the main pending issues between the two parties have been resolved and talks are now underway on the final details. But we cannot give any details about the nature of these details that we are talking about or where these talks are today, except to say that we have overcome the main obstacles in the disputes between the two parties. It is difficult for me, especially with the previous experiences that you are all aware of, to set any time frame for the announcement of a ceasefire, except to say that today we are at a point that this is the closest point we have been to a deal over the past months.
Meanwhile, in Washington, outgoing U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken addressed the latest push to reach a hostage release deal, stressing that while Israel accepted the final proposed deal, Hamas has not.
Over the past several weeks, our intensive efforts have brought us to the brink of full and final agreement. On Sunday, the United States, Qatar, and Egypt put forward a final proposal. The ball is now in Hamas's court. If Hamas accepts, the deal is ready to be concluded and implemented. I believe we will get a ceasefire. And whether we get there in the remaining days of our administration or after January 20th, I believe the deal will follow closely the terms of the agreement that President Biden put forward last May and our administration rallied the world behind.
The Biden administration's top diplomat went on to highlight that he had been working, together with Washington's regional Arab partners, to develop a detailed post-conflict plan that the outgoing team at the State Department, irrespective of fundamental disagreements on core principles of foreign policy, is expected to hand off to the Trump administration with high hopes that it would carry it forward.
For many months, we've been working intensively with our partners to develop a detailed post-conflict plan that would allow Israel to fully withdraw from Gaza, prevent Hamas from filling back in, and provide for Gaza's governance, security, and reconstruction, drawing on the principles that I originally set out in Tokyo. We will hand off that plan to the Trump administration to carry forward. We believe that the Palestinian Authority should invite international partners to help establish and run an interim administration with responsibility for key civil sectors in Gaza like banking, water, energy, health, civil coordination with Israel. The international community would provide funding, technical support, and oversight. The interim administration would include Palestinians from Gaza and representatives from the PA, selected following meaningful consultation with communities in Gaza, and would hand over complete responsibility to a fully reformed PA administration as soon as it's feasible. The administrators would operate in close cooperation with a senior UN official who should oversee the international stabilization and recovery effort. An interim security mission would be made up of members of partner nation security forces and vetted Palestinian personnel.
Despite having less than 5 days before the anticipated transition of power in Washington, the outgoing U.S. Secretary of State stressed that President Biden's proposed plan, which he's set to deliver to the Trump administration, aims to promote the acutely corrupt Palestinian Authority as the future leader of the Gaza Strip, so long as it entails the establishment of an independent Palestinian state.
We would stand up a new initiative to train, to equip, to vet a PA-led security force for Gaza to focus on law and order and gradually take over for the interim security mission. These arrangements would be enshrined in a UN Security Council resolution. Some of our partners have already expressed their willingness to contribute troops and police for such a mission. But if, and only if, it is agreed that Gaza and the West Bank are reunified under a reformed PA as part of a pathway to an independent Palestinian state.
In response to Secretary Blinken's remarks, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar, who is currently on a state visit to Italy, voiced his unequivocal objection to a Palestinian state.
In the current situation, establishing a Palestinian state will surely be a Hamas state. There is a reason why the Palestinian Authority didn't handle or didn't make elections since 2005, already for 20 years. There is a good reason. And a Hamas state will not only not solve the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians, but will deteriorate security, peace, and stability in the region.
Jerusalem's top diplomat further stressed that for the Palestinian Authority to become a partner, it must first stop paying terrorists and end its educational curriculum that teaches hate of the State of Israel in particular and the West at large.
Palestinian Authority must stop pay for terrorists. This is what they do until now. The European Union demanded them to stop that as a condition for contributions. They hadn't. They must stop. Encourage terrorism by paying for terrorists and terrorists' families. If they will stop poisoning the minds of future generations, we might have a chance to go forward in a path for a real peace. For this, we must see a deep and real change among Palestinians. Unfortunately, we are not seeing it today.
Asked whether the Jerusalem cabinet would have enough support to vote for the looming ceasefire deal, Minister Saar stressed that he believed the coalition has a majority to support an agreement.
I believe that if we will achieve this hostage deal, we will have a majority in the government that will support the agreement.
It is important to know that while all Israeli government ministers understand full well that the far-reaching concessions of the deal are bad for Israel, however, the necessity to bring the hostages home from the subterranean terror pits of Gaza is of the highest order. Nonetheless, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, who is broadly perceived as a populist when it comes to tough decisions, stressed that accepting the deal would force his faction to abandon Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government and urged Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich to join him in torpedoing the deal.
The deal that is being formed is a deal made for Hamas. I call on my friend, Minister Bezalel Smotrich, to join me in full cooperation against the deal being drafted. The power of Otzma Yehudit faction is not sufficient to prevent the deal on its own, but together, we can go to the Prime Minister and inform him that if he goes ahead with the deal, we will resign from the government. I emphasize, even if we are in opposition, we will not bring down Netanyahu, but this cooperation is our only way to prevent the surrender deal, to prevent this terrible deal, and to make sure that the death of the hundreds of soldiers will not be in vain.
It is important to highlight that the looming deal would not entail an end to the war. Rather, it will include a temporary cessation of hostilities with clearly defined stages for each designated period of the arrangement. Meanwhile, despite Hamas's seemingly deliberate procrastination, senior officials in Jerusalem have voiced to TV7 genuine optimism that a deal could be agreed upon in the next several hours. Turning to central Israel, where families of hostages held a rally voicing cautious optimism that a looming deal would finally bring their loved ones home.
I don't know what's his situation, so I try not to prepare, because what I'll prepare? To a funeral and to a celebration together. I mean, that's all this time since October 7. Funerals and small celebration when hostages coming home and continuing to the next.
First of all, I'm a mother of Tamir. He's a young soldier, so we're probably will be left to the next stage, and we're very worried that we won't get to the next stage because we know Hamas and we know what happened at the first deal when Hamas started to make trouble and ended on November 23. And as a mother of a young boy, I'm scared. I'm scared that he won't be back home, and it will take time till we get another deal done. And I don't know if there will be anyone to bring back home, and it scares me.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. It is important to know that TV7 Israel is a non-profit ministry with all of our productions exclusively reliant on monthly donations. Therefore, if you're blessed by the content of our programs, I would like to encourage you to donate. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Separately, I'd like to encourage you as ever, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach. God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.